Okay, so we are going to start off by playing this game called Telephone. Has anyone ever played the game Telephone? Touch your nose if you have. This is how you play Telephone. I'm going to say a few words, and I'm going to whisper them to my friend Cameron. Cameron is going to whisper them to Andrew. Andrew's going to whisper them to Corey. Corey's going to whisper it to Javier. Everyone gets it? Who's going to whisper it to Miss Sullivan? We're going to go around the circle. You have to try to say exactly what you hear, but you can only ask them to repeat one time. So if I whisper something to Cameron and Cameron can't hear me, he can say, "Can you please repeat it?" But only one time. And we're going to see if what I tell Cameron makes it all the way back to Wilbur. All right? Here's the thing. If I whisper to Cameron, I don't want anyone else to hear because I don't want Haley hearing because it hasn't gotten to Haley yet. So while it's not our turn, we're going to, all right? And then if I switch it up, you have to switch what I'm doing. But make sure you're still listening carefully to the person. All right, keep clapping. I'm going to tell something to Cameron. Keep clapping. Haley, good job. Jabron, good job. Well, let's see who's looking. Some of you are good at this pattern. Jabron, you're really good at this. Oh, never repeat. Ready? Let's see if we can do this tricky one. Oh, Jabron, your turn. Oops, I messed up.
I'm doing it.
All right. So it got back to Wilbur. You heard what Rochelle told you? All right. Wilbur's going to say out loud what Rochelle told him.
I nailed it.
Okay, so you can say repeat, please. She has to whisper to them. And we're going to see if what I told Cameron made it all the way around to Wilbur or if somehow it got mixed up along the way. All right, Wilbur, what did you hear from Rochelle?
Vanilla cone.
Get that out of your mouth. Say it again.
Vanilla cone.
Vanilla cone. Cameron, what did I tell you?
I told him apple pie.
I said I like to eat apple pie.
That's what I told her, but
And it
I
got-
think she didn't hear me.
I like to eat apple pie.
Oh, well, hey, at least we got apple
You told
pie.
me too.
And people
And
was
it's
telling
fine.
me, do you like to eat apple?
Oh, so, what?
It got all mixed up.
What happened?
What happened? I told her that what he told me.
Oh, but some people heard apple pie, then it ended with vanilla. I said I like to eat apple pie. What happened?
I told her, I
So
told
what
her the
happened?
same thing that he told me, but I don't
I
know.
want to switch up and then we gotta talk to each other and then the
Can we
ending
do
got
it
somewhere
again?
else.
Oh, so the ending was different than how it started?
No, that now
Something
the ending gotta switch with the beginning.
Oh, so you're saying that's something else we could do. Lou, what do you think
You gotta
happened?
switch.
I think that Cameron didn't hear it.
Well, Cameron heard apple pie. Do we know who misheard? Can we figure, we could figure it out, but do we know? No, so somehow when we told the story, it got a little bit jumbled, didn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe
Hmm.
it's kind of like beginning, and then middle it changed around, and the end it changed more.
Maybe. So maybe at the beginning it changed a little bit, maybe in between myself and Juan, not Juan, Corey. And then maybe between Javier and Miss Sullivan and Kiani it got mixed up again. Then maybe between Jabron and at our end it got mixed up. So we are going to learn about stories today and stories that get passed down from person to person to person. So do you think that the story that starts off is the same story that we know now?
Yes.
You do? Did the story that I started off with end the same as you?
No.
So do you think if my great-grandma told my grandma a story and then told my mom, who then told me, do you think that it's the exact same story, or do you think it got mixed up a little bit like our story did?
I think you got mixed up.
Oh. So I want you to keep that in mind when we think about what we're going to learn about today. Miss Sullivan, do they have carpet seats, assigned seats on the carpet?
We do, but I changed the position of the rug so it might mess them up
Okay.
a little bit.
Let's
So
do,
I still know my
let
assignment.
I'll yeah, but I'll let them pick a spot in a row so that they know.
okay.
Nope. And we're gonna sit in those rows. Just find a spot, 5,
And we're going
4,
to
and face Miss Nardi.
Thank you.
3.
Thank you. Hold on a second. Oh, let's
Okay,
see.
back up a little. Back up a little. We don't crowd that
If
much.
we, you know what, Lou, if we can all listen and be respectful and do our work during the lesson, I promise we will do the game again, and I will let somebody else start our story. Sound good?
Yeah.
If, Haley, I know you're new, but when we're on the carpet, we sit crisscross applesauce, just like Kiani, just like Wilbur, just like Cameron,
Mostly everybody.
mostly everybody. Okay, so today, I told you that the story that we read about, that our story got passed down and it got jumbled and it got all mixed up, and what I told Cameron was not the same that Wilbur had at the end, right? So that, we already know that we can expect that in our story. But before we talk about our stories, let's read our learning targets. Let's see if we can read them together. I can explain what a pourquoi is. I can identify elements of a pourquoi, including the title, characters, and the setting. So, we said this word pourquoi a few times, and people were getting really mixed up on it. Does anyone in here speak Spanish?
Me.
Does pourquoi sound like a word in Spanish that you might know?
Yeah.
What does it sound like?
I know Spanish, but I
Oh.
Never heard that before.
No.
Me.
Pork.
What pork?
Pork, but let's see. I'm gonna tell you, Haley, that's your last warning, and then I'm gonna have to ask you to go to a seat. Do you understand? Because it's not fair that you're stealing Jabron's learning, okay? Thank you, that's a great strategy to move away. I'm gonna tell you what the word pourquoi means. It's a word in French, so it's not a word that we use too often, but I'm gonna tell you what it means, and then my Spanish speakers, let's see if you can help me in English.
I was thinking in French because when you say croissant, when you say croissant, it kind of rhymes with that one.
Croissant is a French word, you're right, and it kind of sounds like pourquoi. What's that word, Kiani?
Why?
Why? So you speak Spanish. How do you say why in Spanish? You know?
¿Por qué?
Yeah.
¿Por qué?
¿Por qué? Doesn't por qué sound like pourquoi?
It's both.
¿Por
qué?
¿Por qué?
¿Por qué?
Ready? Let's all say por qué at the same time. Ready?
¿Por
1,
qué?
2, 3.
¿Por qué?
Por qué in Spanish means why, and pourquoi in French also means why. So let's all, when I get to 3, let's say the word pourquoi together. Ready? Oh, you guys need to be listening.
1, 2, 3.
Pourquoi. So we are going to explain what a pourquoi is. So we know pourquoi means why, but we don't know what a pourquoi is yet, do we?
No.
All right, we're going to work on that. Let's read our next target again. Actually, I'll read it and you can listen. I can identify. Make sure that we're listening because I said I'm going to read it and you can listen. I can identify elements of a pourquoi, including the title.
Haley, come sit next to me, please.
I can identify elements of a pourquoi, including the title, characters, and the setting. There is a lot of words in there. What does identify mean? Who can tell me what the word identify means?
I was gonna ask you what
Really?
does those two words mean.
Oh, I'm glad you're a step ahead of me. What does identify mean, Wilbur?
Identify means like something kind of like a problem or like solving it.
It's so you could, it's like a problem that you solve. What else could identify mean?
What's the word?
Oh, let's figure out what identify means first. No one? What if you are identifying the type of an animal? Or you can identify a color. What do you think identify means, Kiana?
Investigating something.
It could be investigate. So I'm gonna make that a little more simple. What did I write identify means? Tell or find. If you're identifying something, you're telling what it is or you're finding it. So I can identify elements. What about elements? That's another big word. You might have done story elements in first grade. You're pointing to something. What could elements mean?
Elements can be like something like to solve stuff and
Close. I'm gonna tell you what elements means. Do you have a guess?
some sort of crystal.
Oh, so there are elements of a crystal. I like that. You've
It
probably
sounds like
heard that word element before when you were reading about crystals. Elements means parts. So you have a lot of elements of your day. Today you had art, then you're gonna have lunch later, you're gonna have recess. Those are elements of your day. So far we have, I can tell or find parts of a pourquoi, which we're not quite sure what that word is yet, including the title, characters, and the setting. Raise your hand if you do not know what a title is. We all know what a title is. What are characters? It's calling someone I haven't called them. Rochelle, what is a character?
Characters are people that are in a story.
Oh,
And it's like us.
people.
It's us because we make stories of ourselves.
You could be characters, you're right. So characters are people's stories. What about Haley? I love that you've been sitting so nicely. Haley, do you know what a setting is?
A setting is
Oh, I'll call on you after. Do you know what the setting of a story is, Haley? What is it? You don't remember, you've heard it, but you just can't think of it right now? That happens to me all the time. Cameron, what's the setting of a story?
a setting is where you are.
Oh, I'm gonna add a word, where or when, because the setting could also be when.
Yes, because we're there.
Like a place, you're right, where the story takes place, when the story takes place. So I can tell or find parts of a pourquoi, including the title, characters, or people in the story, and the setting, when or where the story takes place. You think we're ready to start?
Yeah.
So we did our activity telephone earlier, right?
I want to play that.
And I told you, or you guys told me, that the story that I told Karen was not the same as the story at the end. So what do you think I could tell you about a pourquoi folktale? Do you know what a folktale is?
Yeah.
We've done folk tales.
I was gonna say, I remember you doing folktales. Lou, what's a folktale?
A folktale is when it's a made-up story.
Yes.
From
Ding, 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 ding. What else? It's made up. It's fiction. It's not real. What else do we know about folktales?
And it's not.
It is not in real life.
So it's made up.
It is not in real life.
It's not in real life. And Lou told us that if it's made up, that it's fiction, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But if it was
Who else
real,
can raise their hand and tell me something else that they might know about folk tales? Because if we can kind of talk about what we know about a folk tale, then it'll help us figure out what a pourquoi is. So we know that it's made up and it's fiction. What else do you know about folk tales?
Folktales are some of them are
so we know that they don't have real people.